This video is to do a quick update on some of the latest changes to model coordination, especially on the setup side. If you're new to model coordination, one of the very first things you need to do is set up your coordination space. This really is just telling the system where your models live within the Autodesk Construction Cloud docs folder structure. So let me show you one as an example. What I need to do is within my folder structure, I need to identify where my models live. And I could start up at the very highest. The problem with that is then I would need to go through and narrow it down with all of my other folders. So just for simplicity's sake, I would go in and I'm going to do my BIM folder. From there, I'm going to select my content. And you'll notice over here on the left, this is my main folder path. Over here on the right is my selected content. This is where I'm going to go through and turn on and off what I don't want. Now, I know that I have models within some of these folders and some I don't. So I'm going to just make sure to turn the ones off that I don't need and leave the ones on I do want. So I'm going to turn these off. I've got a bridge file that's bringing in my mechanical already and my electrical. So I will make sure my mechanical's off. And that should be good to go. So over here on the right, you can see I can go in and I can say, all right, for this folder, my design coordination, do I want to allow all file types or just one type? Maybe inside of my design coordination, I have a bunch of DWG exports and Revit files and NWCs, and maybe I just want to use my Revit files from my design teams. So I'm just going to say just Revit files. And maybe on the construction side, I'm only using NWCs. So I can filter that down. You can do it globally and say, you know what, we're going to use NWCs across the board, except for here. I'd already set that one. So if I go in and say NWCs, now I've got all NWCs. So a lot of different ways to set that up. And the point of that is to keep your model list clean and manageable. So once I've got this good to go, I'll save it. And you'll notice I do have the option to turn the automated clash detection on or off. If I start with it on, I can always turn it off later. If I start with it off, I can never turn it on. What I typically will tell customers is if you are doing 100% of your clash detection in Navisworks, turn it off. This will improve the processing time of your models because it won't need to run through the Clash engine. But if there's a chance that there's a trade, maybe fire sprinkler, that they want to be able to get in and do some Clash detection, them against pipe or duct or structure or ceilings or something like that, they could easily do that in model coordination without having to get into Navisworks. So I typically say always start with it on. We can turn it off later if we need to, unless you are 100% all Navisworks. So I can hit create and that will go ahead and create that. I'm not going to, I already have enough of these. Here's one that I've already got, this 3D construction coordination. When I go to my models tab, up here at the top right, this is where I say which coordination space I want to work in. Now, I do get asked quite a bit, why would I ever have more than one coordination space? Well, you could have one for design coordination. You could have one for construction coordination. Maybe you have one set up for a trade to be able to use. Or maybe it's an airport and you need to break it up by areas. Or maybe it's a high-rise and you want to break it up by chunks of levels. A lot of different ways you can go about using your coordination spaces. Typically, for the most part, you're going to be using one coordination space. So now here I have my coordination space. And as I scroll down through this, you can see I'm using Revit files. with different views from those Revit files. I have some NWCs. Looks like electrical is using my Revit file. My mechanical is using NWCs. My plumbing is using NWCs. And I could have IFCs. I could have DWGs. I really prefer NWCs. If I'm going to be using a workflow of issues going back into Revit, then I want to use the Revit files. But the Revit files do need to live within this Construction Cloud project. That's another time for another video to walk through that. But let's say I just want to go in and get set up and I want to start my level 4 model. So I'll just do a quick search for L4. Excuse me. So here I have my models that are specific to level 4. I will open those in the viewer, and this is creating my merged model. So here's my model that I have. This is level 4. You can see I'm getting some of my concrete model in there. I'm going to save the view. Anytime you see view in model coordination, it means merged model. Now, I could have a merged model of one or many, but just know a view is a merged model. So if I call this my level 1 merged model for coordination, I'm going to make it public. Maybe I want everyone in my on the coordination team to be able to get in and use this model. I could give it a description. I'll save that view. And now before I do anything else, I'm going to close out of that. I'm going to start by building my merged model in with my models tab. Once I've built it, like the one I just did, now I go to views. Again, this views means merged models. And there's my level 1 merged model for coordination. So from here on out, I'm going to be opening up this level 1 merged model for coordination anytime I need to get in and look at my level 1 model. Now, if I'm doing the Navisworks workflow, I'm going to follow that exact same process. Let me go to a new model here. I'm going to go to my coordination tab, and I'm going to open up that model we just created. So this is very similar to the old BIM 360 glue workflow. Again, I'm just going to make sure I'm in the right coordination space. I'm going to go to views, again, merged model. And I'm going to go to updated. And there's that level 1 merged model for coordination, that model that I was just in ACC. This exact model is now opening in Navisworks. And that's really the initial setup of getting in with model coordination, using your models and folder structure to create your coordination space. And then that gives me the ability to merge my models. And now I can view those models and begin my coordination, whether I'm using Navisworks or model coordination. I can start that process.